When did you find out that Russ wasn't going to be practicing this morning?
Our quarterback coach just texted me and said he's ready to take some reps that he wants today. But it's good, to face, some short-term memories, some adversity, because we're going to face things in games that aren't expected. So, it's about how we react to those situations and how we adjust.
Things are getting very interesting at Pittsburgh Steelers training camp, and I do think we're going to have ourselves a very fascinating quarterback battle between Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. And in my opinion, heading into training camp, I saw this as Russell Wilson's job to lose. He was brought in as the savvy veteran, just going to be a solid quarterback that can do the bare minimum to help the Steelers win games. I made a video a couple of weeks ago about how Russell Wilson really gave the Steelers a higher floor but a lower ceiling, and Justin Fields was the complete opposite. But when I broke down the Steelers schedule for this upcoming season, the first half of it is really not too challenging. I mean, they're going to be favored in at least half of those games, but it's really the end of this season, which is the hardest stretch I've probably seen in my entire life for any team to end the year. In weeks 11 to 18, they play all 6 of their divisional matchups and then also have games against the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. That is unbelievable, especially when you consider that it is the AFC North, which is always one of the most competitive divisions, one of the most physical divisions every single year. So the way that I kind of process things is that Russell Wilson would start at least half of the season, do just good enough and keep the Steelers in the playoff race where he would be able to keep his job. But towards the end of the season, during that tough stretch, the offense would struggle, and then that's when Justin Fields would be inserted into the starting lineup. But as soon as training camp did start, there was a curveball thrown that could end up changing how this entire quarterback situation plays out for the Steelers. It was reported before the first practice that Russell Wilson had some calf tightness and was going to be unable to participate. And although it's not a major injury, it was enough to keep him out of practice all the way up until this past Tuesday, where he was a limited participant. And so what that meant was Justin Fields was going to get all of the first team reps for the starting quarterback position, and he really had a golden opportunity to show out and prove that he does deserve to be the starting quarterback heading into the season. And from all accounts, he did not squander that opportunity. I feel like every day when I go on Twitter, I see at least 2 or 3 new plays of Justin Fields just making an incredible play. I mean, we've seen his deep ball accuracy, finding multiple wide receivers down the field. We've also seen his explosiveness, just his ability to extend plays and also just run the read option, pick up 10, 20 yards on a carry. He's honestly been lighting it up, but it begs the question, 1, is he doing enough during the short time to continue to get first team reps as soon as Russell Wilson does come back? And 2, does Mike Tomlin really want this to be a true quarterback battle, or has he already kind of made up his mind that Russell Wilson is going to be the week 1 starter if he's healthy no matter what? Now, obviously, I don't have access to Mike Tomlin's brain, so I don't know exactly what he's thinking regarding this quarterback battle. All he really said is last week that Russell Wilson is currently the starter. He does have the upper hand, but he never explicitly said that there's not going to be a quarterback battle. He never explicitly said that Russell Wilson is the guy no matter what. And it was reported from NFL Network's Mike Garafolo this past week that Mike Tomlin is probably going to let camp and the preseason play out before making a final decision. But I think it's fairly obvious that the longer that Russell Wilson is unable to be a full participant in practice and Fields is making play after play with all the weaponry that the Steelers have on the offensive side of the ball, it's going to vastly increase his chances to be the starting quarterback come week number 1. And personally, I already get a sense that the players on the Steelers roster are already kind of rallying behind Justin Fields. I mean, you see his teammates running over to celebrate with him whenever he makes a good play. And even today, when I'm recording this video, there was an absolute brawl in Steelers practice after Fields took a late hit on a read option from Landon Roberts. I mean, definitely one of the biggest scrums that I've seen this training camp so far. I mean, probably 30 plus players were all involved in that. And it all started because of teammates defending Justin Fields for taking a late hit in practice. I think that does mean something. And that same mindset could be said for the Steelers fan base that I've seen on social media as well. They're really rallying behind Justin Fields, and I really don't blame them. We know what Russell Wilson is at this point. He's a 35-year-old veteran quarterback who's had 3 straight mediocre seasons. His athleticism is not as good as it used to be. His deep ball is not as good as it used to be. And he's really just a shell of his former self, and that's not going to get the Steelers to win anything of significance. And on the contrary, when you're seeing Justin Fields, a former first-round pick from just a few years ago, making play after play in practice using his legs, using his fantastic athleticism, his arm strength as well, you get excited about those traits and what it could potentially provide for an offense that has been pretty lackluster the last several years with Kenny Pickett. I've gone into depth with the Steelers offense that has a lot of really nice pieces across the board. You've got a great running back duo in Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, the power of Najee, the speed and electrifying quickness of Warren. The wide receiver core, you have one of the best contested catchers in the league in George Pickens. Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin, 2 guys that can have fairly good roles in an offense. And the new rookie wide receiver, Roman Wilson, who has been balling in camp but did just suffer an ankle injury, so he might be out for a couple of weeks. Pat Freiermuth, a more than solid tight end. And then the offensive line, they've drastically improved over the last 2 off seasons. I personally think it's one of the best in the league now. So when you have all of those pieces, and the biggest question mark on that side of the ball is the quarterback position, I do understand wanting to go with the more talented, the younger, and more electrifying player in Fields versus Wilson. But I think we'll get some more clarity as the preseason approaches. Starting on August 9th, the Steelers will play against the Houston Texans in Pittsburgh. Because he is a 35-year-old player, I don't think Russell Wilson will be playing in the first week. So again, that's another great opportunity for Fields to really show out in that first preseason game when he's probably going to get at least half of the reps for the game. And I think potentially a big piece that could end up determining who starts the most games for the Steelers next year at quarterback is the offensive coordinator in Arthur Smith. The former Atlanta Falcons head coach and Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator was brought in this offseason, and he has proven himself to be a very functional offensive mind. Obviously, things did not work out in Atlanta. I think that is mainly because of the quarterback position. He could really never get that right. And some coaches are just not meant to be the lead man in charge. Some guys are just better number twos, and I think that could end up being Arthur Smith. I mean, in Tennessee, what he did with Ryan Tannehill was really impressive. I mean, Tannehill was seen as an average quarterback with a lot of flaws in his game, and Arthur Smith's offense and play calling really helped Tannehill have the best couple of seasons of his career. He helped Tannehill make a Pro Bowl and the AFC Championship game, and that is the reason why this offseason, when the Steelers did officially hire Arthur Smith, I said Justin Fields was a perfect candidate to be the Steelers starting quarterback this year, because Arthur Smith really likes to rely on the run and also just use the legs of his starting quarterback, and he builds play action off of that. He loves to get his quarterback into space and help him have some easy completions. With the athleticism that Fields has and his ability to throw on the run, I do think he's a great fit for what Arthur Smith wants to do. And so far, the relationship between Fields and Smith does seem to be fairly good. Fields was asked about what he knew about Smith before they both came to Pittsburgh, and he said, "I just know for a fact the past 2 years we played him when I was in Chicago, he talks trash during the game. It's good to have a coach like that talk trash and just have that competitive spirit." And a couple of weeks ago on ESPN's Get Up, we had Louis Riddick give some insight about the two. He said, "Talking to Arthur Smith and knowing him like I do, being around Mike Tomlin and knowing how he really does covet guys with this kind of diverse skill set, I just don't see him being a one and done deal player. I just don't see it simply because I don't think they brought him in there with that being the intention, number one. I think the connection between him and Arthur Smith, knowing Arthur as long as I do, he loves this kid's skill set, loves it. I think Fields is the future in Pittsburgh. I'm going to just stay with that. I think he's the future. You're going to see Justin Fields in Western Pennsylvania for the foreseeable future." But in the end, this quarterback competition, which I thought Russell Wilson had completely locked up for at least the start of the season a week ago, has completely flipped on its head, and I do think Justin Fields now has a real chance to be the starting quarterback for the Steelers when they travel to Atlanta to face off against the Falcons in week number 1. But I want to know what you think about the Pittsburgh Steelers, and who do you think should be the starting quarterback for the team? Do you think Russell Wilson deserves the first shot to show what he has left in the tank as he's the veteran? Or do you think going with the higher upside and more talented Fields is the right approach? Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. But subscribe to the channel if you are new. Drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.